is going to be Brian Davidson, who is running for CU Regent at Large as a Republican. And I don't know if you heard, but your timing starts when I step off the stage. Your 5 minutes begin.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Brian Davidson, and I am running for CU Regent at Large. The University of Colorado Board of Regents is Colorado's only elected board over higher education institution. All the rest are appointed by the governor's office. There are 9 members of the CU Board of Regents. There's 1 elected from each congressional district and 2 statewide seats. I am running for an at-large statewide seat. CU Regent at Large race will be the only statewide race in Colorado in 2012, other than obviously the President of the United States race. I was born and raised in Jefferson County. My wife Amy and I moved back to Arvada and to raise our 9-month-old, soon to be 10-month-old son Tasman, who just learned how to crawl. I currently practice medicine and serve as a faculty member at the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus in Aurora. I'm a 3-time CU graduate, earning an MD, an MBA, and completing my anesthesiology residency training program within the CU system. My college experience did not include CU. I actually earned a degree in chemistry from the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley, not too far from here. I'm running for CU Regent because I believe higher education is one key to achieving the American dream for many young Colorado citizens. My own dream of becoming a doctor was realized because of availability of public higher education in Colorado. As Colorado's next CU Regent, I will look forward to securing that same opportunity for young people in this state. My goals of elected CU Regent are simple. Number 1, affordable education for Colorado citizens, reducing the excessive burden of student debt on Colorado students and families. Number 2, supporting CU's growing healthcare service, education, and research enterprise. Northern Colorado is now part of that CU healthcare family, and I will work hard to make sure you are proud to be part of that family. Number 3, promoting quality academic programs to produce graduates that are successfully equipped to enter our economy and our society. I have served or currently serve on numerous boards and committees related to both healthcare and higher education in Colorado. I have had the opportunity to spend more than a decade either serving or learning in the classroom and at the bedside within the CU system. This experience provides me a unique perspective that will serve the university community well and the state of Colorado well at CU's board table. I'm also proud to have former U.S. Senator and CU President Emeritus Hank Brown serving as my campaign chair for this run. I thank you very much tonight, and I will finish 1 minute early. Thank you.
It turns out that Daniel Ong, who was next on the schedule, has not shown up. So we are going to, as I said earlier, we're starting to slide people, but a lot of the people at the bottom aren't here either. So what we're moving down to is not on your list. That is someone who is against the Town of Berthoud initiated Measure 300, medical marijuana business prohibition, and he has 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for slotting me in so we can speak and tell you folks a little bit about why we are against Measure 300 in the city of Berthoud, in the town of Berthoud. And I think it's really important about what we're talking about here. It's not just medical marijuana, it's not just patients. We're talking about one dispensary in town that exists there now, that has existed there for years, serving the patients and being a really strong, responsible member of the community. It's taxpayers. We are supporting the community, going to charitable events and supporting any organization that will make our community better. We are not talking about some mythical dispensary in a city that you don't know. We're not talking about statistics that are being bent and swayed for one person or another. We're talking about one town, one dispensary, small business owners paying their taxes, doing the right thing. They're a model example of what a good medical marijuana business can do for a community. And it's really important that everyone really understand that that's what we're talking about here with No on 300. When you're voting no on 300, we're talking about a safe and regulated medical marijuana industry serving patients in the town of Berthoud. That's what we're talking about. If we're voting yes and banning the dispensary, what we're left with is an unregulated basement grows next to your homes, next to your schools. No one knows where they are. No one tracks where the marijuana goes. It's unsafe and it's unregulated, and it also can have tainted medicine for the patients. So we have patients out there who have very severe, debilitating conditions who need to make sure that they have safe access to the medicine that they need. We serve dozens of indigent patients, patients who can't afford their medicine. We provide it for them. We serve over 48 military veterans. That's growing almost on a daily basis. The amount of veterans who are coming in and being part of our community, being part of your community is tremendous. We have 8 AIDS patients, 10 cancer patients right now, 28 patients with seizure disorders, and 68 patients with nerve disorders. We have veterans who have PTSD. They are your friends, they are your neighbors. They range from 18 years old to the mid-90s. This is not some face to be scared of when we ask you to vote no on 300. These are your friends, your neighbors, your community, the small business owners that you're supporting when you're voting no on 300. So please, if you live in the town of Berthoud, vote no on 300. If you know anyone around who could benefit from medical marijuana, talk to them and say that this is what you actually want to be having in your community. And I will end this early as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Our next speaker is Ann Fatter, who is running for the State Board of Education, Congressional District 2, as a Republican.
Thank you, and I really want to thank all of you for showing up tonight. I think it really shows the intent and how important all of this is. My name is Ann Fatter, and I'm running for the State Board of Education. And it's similar to the CU Board of Regents, except for there is one state board member for every congressional district in the state. And as Larimer County, I would like to welcome you to CD2. It happened in the redistricting this year, and now you're our new member into CD2, and so welcome. The State Board of Education essentially takes laws that are enacted by the legislature and makes the rules for them. So when the Senate Bill 191 came through on the teacher evaluation piece, they made the rules on how that was going to be enacted within your districts. It also takes funding that comes out of the federal government and determines how it will be distributed. It is a mediator when there is conflict, say on a charter school issue. So they do a lot of things. They oversee. They are not an answer to your local Board of Education, but they do provide the guidance to the districts. My background and why I feel I'm qualified for this is I spent 8 years on our local Board of Education in Gilpin County, and then I also served as president of the Colorado Association of School Boards, which included a lot of advocacy work on the behalf of public schools. And then I also served for the Colorado Association of School Executives on accountability. When the accountability program first came in, there were 3 strands of accountability, and our districts really didn't know what to do with that information or how to make it pertinent and how to make sure that our kids were getting what they needed. So we came up, and if any of you have kids in school today, you will see a growth model or a growth rating come up. And what that does is tell us that for the year they spent in school, did they actually make growth? Which is really an important thing, because even with our proficiency levels, kids could linger in the proficiency rating and not be learning. So there are some mechanisms in place, and what I would like to see in this continuing, to make sure that that continues to grow, is I would like to see school choice. And school choice will mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. I think we need to make sure that we have strands within our existing schools, IB programs, AP classes, that sort of thing that will keep our kids challenged. I think that we need to listen to parents. Parents are an integral part to their kids' education. We need to make sure that we keep them engaged, and I believe choice is one of the ways to do that. I also am a very strong local control advocate, because anything that happens will happen better locally. If you have a student that has a problem, you are much more likely to get it resolved by going into your local board than trying to deal with something at the state level. So that's kind of a little bit about who I am. I really appreciate all my supporters. Larimer County has been great, and I'm so glad that we got them added to CD2. My booth is over here, and I appreciate talking to you and appreciate your support. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're still pretty close on schedule here. So next we have Clifford Riedel, who is running for district attorney as a Republican in the 8th Judicial District.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Cliff Riedel, and I am running to be the next district attorney for the 8th Judicial District.
I'm going to push this up a little. Yeah. You can give it to
For the 8th Judicial District, is that too loud?
Just talk into it, because
Okay.
they can't hear, I think.
All right, can you hear me now? Okay. For those who may not know it, the 8th Judicial District covers all of Larimer and all of Jackson County. So we have the metropolis of Walden in the 8th Judicial District. I have been a prosecutor for 32 years in the 8th Judicial District. My career started off when I was hired by Stuart Van Meveren, who was then the district attorney, to be the young buck prosecutor down in Loveland. I started prosecuting misdemeanors and traffic offenses in 1980. I was quickly promoted to a district court deputy handling felony cases, and then was promoted again to a chief deputy district attorney position handling major felony trials and including the supervision of some of our younger attorneys. I was then promoted again to assistant district attorney, the position I currently hold, and I still handle major felony trials, but I also supervise the other 28 attorneys in the office.
Speak into
Okay. For 32 years, I've had the privilege of appearing in court, standing up in front of a judge and stating, my name's Cliff Riedel and I'm representing the people of the state of Colorado. And I believe if you look at my record, I've served the people well. But there's something I think you need to know about me. Though I've been doing this for many, many years and have handled thousands and thousands of cases, I still view the individuals that come into the criminal justice system as people. Some of them are flawed, some of them are addicted, some of them are going through difficult times, some of them are evil, and a great many of them are good people who made a poor choice. I try never to lose sight of that fact. And I try and use every resource at my disposal to distinguish between those who need to be locked away for the protection of us all and those who are good people who just made a poor choice. I would very much appreciate your vote and your support, and I thank you very much for coming out to this event tonight. Thank you.
The next one is a person who is opposing, or is the con, for Fort Collins Initiative 301, repealing prohibition of operation of medical marijuana business.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for coming out to here tonight. Let me start out with this. We are not against medical use, those people who really genuinely need the medical services. There's no question about that. What we're against, obviously, is abuse that surrounds it, the unmanaged and unkept stores that are not managed well. And the thing of it is, with this new clause that just passed, 301, what it does, it becomes expansive. It grandfathers the existing 22 stores that we had before, plus they can add in addition to that, so actually it becomes much more expansive than what it was before. The Colorado patients, caregivers, and dispensaries all have diverted medical marijuana to illegal use in 23 states. This is what was reported by the Denver Post. You have read, I'm sure, the Attorney General in Colorado has indicted several of the medical marijuana stores that are shipping marijuana out the back door, been shipping it to as many as 23 states, shipping pounds of marijuana. Those indictments didn't come without cause, without probable cause, or without a reason for them happening. That's what's happening with your stores. They will have you believe that they're operating legitimately, that they're carefully scrutinized, which just is not the truth. That is not the truth at all. There's a study conducted by the University of Colorado School of Medicine found that 3/4 of the teens admitted in 2 metro area substance abuse programs that they had used someone else's medical marijuana, either grown or purchased through a dispensary. 3/4 of them since the store's open. You know why? Because it's become easier to access. It's easier for them to get their hands on it. That, to me, folks, is dangerous. An interesting study now by Dr. John Martinez, a team from the National Jewish Health Center, have reviewed 30 marijuana growing operations in Denver, Littleton, and Larimer County. They found that mold levels at 100 times higher than what is considered safe. In some cases, the level was so high that their instruments could not even read it. So this puts first responders, law enforcement, and families at risk that could lead to respiratory disease that is deadly. On May 2nd, 2012, a survey results revealed by the partnership of drugfree.org and MetLife Foundation found that the past month marijuana use, particularly heavy use, has increased significantly among U.S. high school students since 2008. It has increased as much as 80%. 80%. Folks, this is huge, and we want to reopen the stores after the voters already said no once. How many times are we going to have to put the nail in the coffin on this? Now they're saying that 1 joint of marijuana, the latest research is equivalent to a pack of cigarettes associated with lung disease and lung problems. When kids start smoking at an early age, obviously it makes a difference in what happens to them, and it has a mind-altering effect. The THC that we used back in the 60s, or people that used it 60s or 70s, was somewhere between 0.5% and 1%. Today, it's as high as 18%. So the impact is much greater. It's more damaging. The University of Columbus, Ohio says that 1 joint makes your chance of getting a heart attack go up by 200 times. How is this medicinal? How does this help you in your health when they're showing that? It gives you paranoid feelings. It makes your heart race. There's so many issues with this. Obviously, I don't have time to go to all of them. But I think it's also interesting that the British Medical Journal reported that it doubles the risk of collisions and car accidents. And yet you'll find, and the opposition will tell you, oh no, it makes you a safer driver because you drive slower. That's baloney, folks. Please don't believe that. If these health medical institutions, the flyers that they're putting out, if they're so healthy, here's one that says that if you suffer, you know anyone that suffers from these ailments, contact us for medical cannabis information and help. Cancer, nausea, pain, spasms, seizures, anxiety, cirrhosis, diabetes, sleeplessness, appetite increase, appetite decrease. It'll cure everything. Muscle tension, bacterial infection, Crohn's disease, inflammation, bone deterioration. It's rheumatoid arthritis. It's going to cure everything. Folks, if this was so curable, if this was so true, why do we have doctors? Why do we have pharmacies? We don't need them anymore. I don't know what Jesus was thinking back in the days when he was laying hands on people and healing them. He might as well just said, here's a baggie of marijuana. Why don't you just do that? But my point is that this is fictitious information, and it's easily accessible for you to reach, to read, and see it. Folks, do not vote for this. This is hoodwinking people's minds. Thank you very much.
Actually, our next speaker is Karen Stockley, who is running for Larimer County Commission District 3 as a Democrat.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? My name is Karen Stockley, and I am running to be your next county commissioner. I'm very honored to be here tonight, and okay. Okay. Let's start that again. I'm Karen Stockley, and I'm running to be your next county commissioner. I'm very honored to be here tonight, and I want to thank the league specifically for putting on this wonderful event so we can get out and hear all of the great ballot initiatives and hear the candidates, and this is just a wonderful event, so thank you, League. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a longtime Coloradoan. I've lived here about 45 years. Currently, I live west of Berthoud with my husband, Jay, and my 4 teenagers. They're all wonderful, independent human beings, and we're very proud of them. We have horses, goats, and chickens. I guess if you want to define county living, that's what we have, and we're very fortunate. I'm a longtime Colorado volunteer. I've spent 20 years in the elementary school classrooms volunteering. I worked on Berthoud's planning and zoning. I worked on a couple of their master plans. I spent 4 years currently on the Thompson Board of Education, where I was the treasurer. I also worked on the Legislative Coalition, where we weighed in on important legislation going through the State House regarding education, and I'm very proud of that work. I think most importantly for you to know is that I'm a business owner. I've owned an antique mall on South College for over 6 years. And I think when we look at government and when we look at putting regulation on small businesses, we better be darn certain what we're doing to those small businesses, because they're the backbones of our society when it comes to employing folks. And I will assure you that I won't put any regulation on a small business that's going to harm that small business. That's important to me. When I look at the county commission right now, you know, the reason I'm running for county commissioner is because I do love Colorado and I care deeply about everyone in northern Colorado and Larimer County. Currently, you have 3 Republican men representing you as county commissioners. And I tell you what, we're a very diverse county, and my voice is not being represented at the county level. And I think a lot of folks aren't being represented at the county level. I would like to change that. When we look at government, and I think the thing I like about democracy are the checks and balances that we have in government. Having one party always in power isn't necessarily a good thing, no matter which party it is. That's why I think we need a new voice in there. We need a woman's voice. We're great negotiators. We need a business voice. We don't have that right now. That would be me, and I assure you that if I am elected in November, I will work to be the people's voice, because it is your voices and your hands that put us in office, and we owe it to you to be your representative, and that's what I would like to do. Now, thank you. There are some very important issues right now in Larimer County. First of all, looking at about $10 million in budget cuts, I want to make certain that we are keeping those cuts away from our vulnerable populations. That's very important to me, that we are not harming the elderly or the young when we're cutting $10 million out of the budget. Another issue that's very near and dear to my heart, and I don't know how you folks feel about it, but I'm concerned about fracking in Larimer County. I tell you what, fracking is coming over the borders of Weld County into Larimer County. Our current county commissioners don't seem to be very concerned about it, but I'm concerned about your health and your safety. I'm concerned about putting fracking operations next to schools and next to heavily populated urban areas, and I think we need to look at fracking in Larimer County, and we need to look at protecting our citizens, and that's an issue I would like to work on. Thank you. Some other issues that are important to me, I think this weekend we're going to see an unveiling of some new transportation, an idea for some rail coming up in northern Colorado. I think we can't continue to expand I-25 infinity. I think we need to be the visionaries when it comes to transportation in Colorado. We need to see what we can do to get rail service from Fort Collins to Denver. And oh my gosh, I'm almost out of time. What I would just like to finish up with is that you need someone who's going to get in there and represent you and answer your phone calls and emails. And I hope that is me. I urge you to come by and visit us at the booth, and I urge you to please get out and vote. No matter how you vote, please get out and vote. It's your duty, and thank you so much for coming out tonight. I'm Karen Stockley.
Our next speaker is Tom Donnelly, who's running for Larimer County Commissioner in District 3 as a Republican.
Thank you, Dixie, and thank you for watching the mic there. And talk loud. Talk loud? Can you hear me? Good. Okay, thank you to the League for hosting this wonderful event year after year. It gets better and better every time. And it looks, you know, even Mel is here this year, so we're really thrilled. My My name is Tom Donnelly, and I've been proud to serve for the last 4 years as your Larimer County Commissioner. As many of you may know, I originally served or was elected in 2006 as your county surveyor. Now, a lot of you probably didn't know you had a county surveyor, but you do, and I was him. Once I was county surveyor, I got an inside look at how the county operated. I saw some things that I thought needed to be changed, so I ran for county commissioner in 2008. I was actually elected that year, and it's been an honor to me. You can't hear me, Eric? It's been an honor to me to serve the last 4 years as your county commissioner. Since both Commissioner Johnson, who's somewhere around here, and I were elected, we've taken a really hard look at our county budget. In fact, we produced 4 budgets in a row, each one smaller than the year previous. And I'm not talking about the way the federal government does it when they decrease the amount of the increase and call it a budget cut. I mean 4 actual budgets, each one successively smaller than the one before. Something else we did that's almost unheard of in local government. In fact, Commissioner Johnson said at the time when we did it that he'd never seen it happen in his 10 years his 10 years in the legislature. The Board of County Commissioners on June 30th did something almost unheard of. We ended a tax early, 6 months early. Yeah. What that means is that about $4 million that would have gone to government is going back to you. It's going to go into your pockets. Now more than ever, that's very important, and we're very proud to have been able to do that. At the same time that we've been reducing some spending, finding increased efficiency in government, county reserves have increased significantly. In fact, thanks kids, when we came into office, Steve and I, our discretionary reserves, our rainy day funds in the county set at about $6 million. I'm happy to report to you tonight that they now are over $20 million. There's been over a 300% increase in rainy day reserves. Yeah, thanks. And while we have been able to do that, we've even done some great improvements. We built a $10 million alternative sentencing building in the county to take pressure off our county jail. We did that without any bond debt. We did that without having to ask you to fund that as taxpayers through a new tax. We paid for that out of reserves, and I think that's what you want your local government to do, is find responsible solutions to your problems. And I think we've done that time and again. Another thing that I think we have significant reserves to handle the High Park fire. You know that was a tragedy of epic proportions, a true problem here in Larimer County. You know, for the next 10 years, we're going to be facing a lot of issues with water quality, with erosion, with our road system, with the ditches being filled up with silt and sand and things like that. So I hope you're happy or rest assured knowing that the board actually has significant reserves to handle any kind of emergency that we may face. I was surprised to hear someone kind of jump on my issue, which was regulatory reform, and I'm glad to see that my friends from the other side of the aisle have taken that up. Here in Larimer County, this board has pioneered regulatory reform, and I'm going to give you one example. I'm running low on time, but I'm going to try to do it quick. We have about a $60 million industry here, which is the equine industry. If you think about it, all the folks who sell hay, all the farmers who sell hay, all the people that own feed stores, farriers, veterinarians, there's saddle makers, the list goes on and on. Nearly $60 million worth of economic impact in Larimer County alone. At the very base of that, the horse boarding facilities, almost all of them were operating in a kind of a black market system without county approval. And that's because our regulations did not take into consideration the size of the parcel. So I've got 1 minute left. I'm going to do it real quick. If you had a 10-acre parcel, you could board 4 horses. When you boarded your 5th horse, you were forced into special review, 6 months at a time, tens of thousands of dollars to gain approval. If you had 300 acres, guess how many horses you could board? 4 horses. 5th horse, special review. So we've adopted what we call a scalable system for land use. We started with horses. We're moving to other things. We want to try to keep agriculture viable. The best way to do that is to allow farmers an opportunity to make money on their farms some other way, to supplement their income. That's what we do. That's what we stand for here in Larimer County. I'm just about out of time. Again, my name is Tom Donnelly. It's been my honor and privilege to serve you for the last 4 years as your county commissioner. These are my 4 kids. I want Larimer County to be a great place for them to live in the future and for your kids and your grandkids to live in the future. I'd ask for your support and your vote. My website is tom4larimer.com. That's Tom, the number 4, larimer.com. Thank you, folks. Good to see you.
Our next speaker is Steve Johnson, who is running for Larimer County Commissioner in District 2 as a Republican.
Thank you very much, and thanks for being here this evening. My name's Steve Johnson. I'm currently one of the 3 Larimer County Commissioners. I'm running for re-election. I don't have an opponent, but I would like very much to have your vote. And I want to visit with you this evening about one aspect of our job, and one aspect that I think is very important part of our job, and that is getting the best value we can for your tax dollars. We take about 1/4 of your property taxes and we invest them in necessary and important county services. One thing I like about doing that is it's not really a partisan issue. Republicans want tax dollars to be used wisely. Democrats want tax dollars to be used wisely. Unaffiliated voters want their tax dollars spent wisely. And even people that are so fed up with the political system that they haven't registered to vote and they don't vote, you know what? They deserve their tax dollars to be invested wisely too. So here's what we've done. We've established 7 service areas to keep the county focused on those things that are most important for us to do. Because if you've noticed, governments sometimes have the tendency to get into a lot of other areas that probably we wish they weren't in. But we want to stay focused on what we're supposed to do, and we want to do it well. So here's what we do with some of your property taxes. We provide for public safety, because we want our homes and our streets to be safe for our family and our kids. And we put out forest fires, and we help families recover from natural disasters. We provide public health. We vaccinated 8,000 people for H1N1 and meningococcal disease recently. As a matter of fact, we set a record, and our county employees wrote a computer program to schedule people so that no one waited more than 15 minutes. And we provide for self-sufficiency. We help families with problems. We protect kids that are abused and neglected. And we give families these services so that the kids can stay in those families as long as possible. We provide transportation. We maintain 1,000 miles of county roads. And sometimes we even plow them when it snows so that you can get to work and get to where you're going the next day. We prepare for growth, and we've been trying to help people use their properties more, especially in the rural areas, but still protecting the property values of their neighbors. And we help people find jobs. We run the Federal Workforce Center in our county courthouse. We help people with resumes. We help people with cover letters. We help design training programs with community colleges so that people find jobs. And we help our veterans that are returning from service overseas, our heroes. We help them find benefits that they're entitled to as well. So that's some of the things we do. You know, but county government is just like you all. We've all had to tighten our belts in the last few years, haven't we? Same thing with county government. We should do the same, because our property values have decreased, our property taxes have decreased. So we've done a number of things, and when I say we, I don't want to take all the credit for that. I don't even want to take most of the credit for that. There's 3 people on our Board of County Commissioners. There's a county manager that helps us with this. We have department heads that are looking to be more efficient, and we have a great group of county employees that are helping us be more efficient. They've done a number of things, like bring 2 departments that we're renting back into the courthouse. We established an early incentive retirement program, much like private businesses have done. Those things have saved our county, will save our county $20 million over the next 5 years. And that's very important. So where are we at now? As you know, we asked the voters in November to extend a sales tax. The voters said no. So we got that message, and we're going to carry out the wishes of the voters as we should. So we are continuing to look for more efficiencies. We know we're going to lose that sales tax, another $10 million at the end of 2015. So if you knew your family was going to face a dramatic loss of income in the near future, would you just keep spending every dollar you took in as fast as you could? No, you'd prepare for that. That's what we're doing. We're going to reduce the county budget, continue to reduce the county budget by $3 million for each of the next 3 years. Sure, we're going to look for more efficiencies as much as we can, but there may be some changes in service levels. So what we need to do is we need to be honest, and we need to be transparent, and we need to be candid with you about what those changes are. And we will do that so that the citizens can see if that's kind of what they want to have happen. And lastly, I just want to close with what's my vision for Larimer County. My vision for Larimer County is that Larimer County would be a good place to work, that everybody that graduates from school here and lives here would be able to find a good paying job and to live out the American dream, that it would be a safe place for everybody, that would be a good quality of life, good parks, good open spaces, the kind of place we want to live in, and that it would be the kind of place that everybody that lives here, regardless of who they are, regardless of what their political beliefs are, They are treated with respect and dignity as a valuable member of this community. I'm Steve Johnson, and I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
All right, next we have someone speaking in support of Amendment 65. This is a Colorado state amendment relating to Colorado congressional delegation to support campaign finance limits, and she is from the group Yes on 65.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name is Katie Fleming. I'm the Associate Director of Colorado Common Cause. And I'm here tonight because of a series of flawed Supreme Court rulings, including Citizens United, that have opened the floodgates to big money in politics. The common sense campaign finance reforms that we Coloradans have supported time and again are under attack. Here in Colorado, we're at the eye of the political storm. Nearly $20 million has been spent on political ads in the Denver area media market alone. But we're at the center of a much larger problem. Thanks to the rise of super PACs, wealthy individuals can spend millions of dollars on elections. Of the $230 million raised from individual donors to super PACs, more than half came from just 47 people who gave at least $1 million. So just 47 people are controlling that message. Since October 1st, super PACs and outside groups spent more than $87 million. And nearly $45 million of that October spending is not being disclosed to voters. We don't think we should have to put up with that kind of secret money in our elections. Amendment 65 is a chance to stand up to big money in politics and instruct our elected leaders to support a federal constitutional amendment that would allow us to limit campaign contributions and spending if that's something that we decide we want to do. Our other options for reform have been taken away from us by the Supreme Court. We, the people, no longer have the authority to regulate how much money goes into our politics. We should be deciding this election, not the moneyed interests buying the nonstop attack ads. A yes on 65 vote tells Congress that every citizen should be a political equal in our elections. Being lucky or smart enough to have wealth does not come with the right to drown out the voices of everyone else. One of my favorite families to talk about is the Adelsons, Miriam and Sheldon. From one perspective, they're like many American families. They hold clear political views and want to do their part to make a difference. Like many of us, they opened their wallets. What the Adelsons gave, similar to the rest of us, is just a fraction of their net worth. The difference is that even though the gifts from Sheldon and Miriam are small relative to their financial worth, their $36.3 million could alter the course of a presidential race. It would take more than 321,000 American families making the same sacrifice as the Adelsons to equal their political giving. When Newt Gingrich was running in the Republican presidential primary, he was considered out of the race by most when one family single-handedly put a losing candidate back in the race. The Adelsons wrote that check. That is too much power and influence. Amendment 65 is crafted in a rich tradition of voter instructions that was common during our nation's founding. They allow voters to advise their representative about their preferences. Voter instructions were key in bringing about the 17th Amendment for the direct election of U.S. senators. And for those who follow this sort of thing, Amendment 65 actually takes 2 words out of the state constitution, and the rest of it is in statute. You'll hear from the opposition that this is an attack on free speech. That's simply not true. That's simply not true. Amendment 65 doesn't limit what any of us can say. It prevents billionaires from shouting over the rest of us. As Justice John Paul Stevens said, money is property, it is not speech. Amendment 65 gives us an opportunity to stand up to big money in politics. You can learn more about it by going to voteyeson65.org. Also, I'm in the back by the concession stands if you want to talk to me about it or if you have questions. We also have yard signs and would love the help in getting the word out. Thank you.
All right, next we have speaking Dave Clark, who is running for the Loveland City Council in Ward 4.
Good evening, everyone. It's certainly a pleasure for me to be here tonight. As Dixie said, I'm Dave Clark, and I'm running for the vacant seat in the Loveland City Council in Ward 4, which is the northeast section of Loveland. I certainly want to thank the League of Women Voters and all those who participated to make this such a wonderful event. I've lived in Loveland for almost 50 years now. I've seen a lot of changes. I grew up here, I raised my family here, and I was in business and have been in business here for a long time. I've seen a lot of changes over the years, and from about 50 years ago, when it was a small agricultural town, to what it is now. And quite frankly, I think we've done a really good job. I'm very proud of what we've done here and what Loveland looks like today. And I believe that what we've done, the reason it's like it is today is because over the decades we've had some real strong leaders in our city government and our business leaders in town who have had strong conservative values that have built this city. Principles like, let me think here, principles like pay as you go for the things that you need, and also don't go in debt for things that you want. These are the things that have done and what they built on here. I think this election that we're facing this time is a question on the role of government. In my case, the role of city government. I think a good role of government is a limited role of government, and that's what I'm hoping to work on here. What that means is we should focus on the basic services that Loveland should provide. For example, public safety. We would like a strong police and fire force. That's what we need our government for. Also roads and highways, so we can get around and do what we do. I also believe that city government should very strongly support our local businesses. I'm a very firm believer that really successful businesses is what makes a successful city. And I've talked to many businesses in town and know how well they need, or how much they need the support of the city to do what they do best, and that is run their business. So I think we need to focus on those kind of things. Now, the city also provides other services as well, but they're a lower priority. Our basic services are our highest priority, and we should make sure that our funding and the way that we budget reflects that. Other services that come in on a lower priority need to be evaluated based on those priorities as our citizens want. Now, we all know that we've been through a real tough recession the last few years, and we've all been affected by it, some of us a lot more than others. I think it's time to be cautious. Things are coming up. They seem to be showing a little improvement, which is great. I hope they continue to improve the economy, but I'm cautious. I think that we should look at what we've got and save for things that we might need in the coming years, things that we may not, we don't know if we're going to have, we don't know what's going to happen next year, rather than spending for things that we want now. I think that's what we should do and focus on. So I believe that we need to continue with our strong conservative values, make sure that we focus on our limited services of government, and then provide other things that we can if we have the funding to do that. As a member of the Loveland City Council, it would be my responsibility and my job to continue those practices so that we continue to make Loveland what it is and better for our children and their children as well. And I certainly ask for your support, and if you do live in Ward 4, I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
All right, our next speaker is Paul Mueller, who is running for the Loveland City Council in Ward 4 as well. Paul, be sure you talk right into the microphone because I have trouble hearing.
Thank you, Dixie. Up until this past July, I had never run for office, and I never had any aspirations to do so. When Kathleen McEwen decided to resign from council, I saw this as an opportunity to elevate my service to the community and share my business experience. After deciding to run, I made a commitment to walk every neighborhood in Ward 4 to introduce myself and understand the issues on the minds of my neighbors. In the last 8 weeks, Teresa and I have knocked on thousands of doors, We've met some fascinating people, and I've dropped 8 pounds. To paraphrase the line from the movie Forrest Gump, knocking on doors is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get until they open the door. I've answered my neighbors' questions the best I know how. I've listened to their concerns about fracking, police protection, traffic, and the pros and cons of roundabouts. I've heard their desires for things like a vibrant downtown and additional bike trails, particularly along the Highway 34 corridor. We've had great conversations about the need to attract more employers to our town so that our children and grandchildren can start careers and build families here and not always move away. I've taken to heart their expectation of me to be available, accessible, and visible in the community. In fact, it was made crystal clear to me that our neighbors want city councilors to listen more, talk less, and ask really good questions. I have learned so much from these conversations that I am well prepared and eager to serve, and I hope the voters of Ward 4 will give me that opportunity. Earlier this week, I received a flyer from my opponent in the mail. It contains his name and his picture and appeared to be very well done. However, in the fine print, it says it was produced and paid by a political action committee in Chicago, Illinois. Chicago. Why on earth would a Chicago political action committee spend thousands of dollars in a local election here in Loveland? I don't think it's because they treasure the charm of our community. In the accounting business, we always say, follow the money. Last year, this Chicago group spent $27,000 on a mayor's race in Edmonds, Washington, a community half our size. So it has to make you wonder how much money they are pouring into this election and what do they expect in exchange. As a certified public accountant for more than 35 years, I understand the importance of being objective, independent, analytical, and skeptical. You won't need to worry about me kowtowing to some out-of-state special interest group. I am proud of the business that Teresa and I have built right here in Loveland, which was named by the Loveland Chamber of Commerce as their 2011 Business of the Year. And more recently, the Better Business Bureau just announced that we are a finalist for their 2013 Torch Award for Business Ethics. Competence, business acumen, ethics, and a commitment to responsive service has helped us earn these awards and are the same values I will bring to City Council. The choice for Loveland voters in Ward 4 could not be clearer. I believe our top priority is making sure the essentials, such as public safety, streets, utilities, are adequately funded. We then need to focus on filling our empty buildings with quality employers who will offer good wages and career opportunities for our neighbors. We need stringent regulations for hydraulic fracturing that will hold drilling operators accountable for maintaining the safety, welfare, and quality of life we enjoy in our community. We need a vibrant and intimate downtown that attracts employers, employees, and shoppers during the day and becomes a magnet for entertainment and cultural activities on evenings and weekends. I really want to thank all the folks I've talked to these past 8 weeks. Your time, your input, and your receptivity has been most gratifying. I also want to thank the League of Women Voters, the sponsors, and the volunteers who have put on this magnificent event this evening. There is important work to be done that requires a city council to remain nonpartisan and focused on keeping Loveland moving in a positive direction. I appreciate your consideration and support in this special election. Thank you.
Okay, just as a reminder, hold all of your applause and comments till the end, just like that. At the end, it was great. So we are now moving on to someone who is supporting, let me make sure I got it, supporting the Town of Berthoud initiated measure number 300 relating to medical marijuana business prohibition, and she's with the group Stop Marijuana in Berthoud. Make sure you talk right into the microphone. Make sure you get the microphone.
Is that good? Okay.
As loud as you can.
Okay. My name's Marie Terry. I'm actually here this evening to speak for Dwayne White. He's our issue committee founder. He had a family emergency this morning. I had about 2 hours to write this speech and prepare, so forgive me if I seem nervous, and I'm going to read straight from my speech. In the spring of this year, a citizen-initiated petition drive was started for a ballot measure ordinance that will ban the sale and cultivation of medical marijuana in the town of Berthoud. 461 signatures were collected. Of those, 418 were verified, and we only needed 184. The petition drive was born out of a concern for the future of our community and our children. Berthoud has always been one of the most desirable places to live in Colorado, and we don't want to see our reputation tarnished by dispensaries and grow operations. Berthoud is the last remaining municipality allowing dispensaries in Larimer County. The citizens of Fort Collins, the citizens of Loveland, and the citizens of Estes Park have all recognized the hazards of inviting this type of business into their communities, and we remain hopeful that the citizens of Berthoud will side with them. If the Berthoud residents do not pass our Initiative 300, a large grow operation and a potential second dispensary will be coming to our town. The goal of our committee is to ban the dispensaries, but the focus of our committee has actually been on awareness. We found during our petition drive that a large number of residents were unaware of the potential grow operation as second dispensary. I truly believe if the citizens of Berthoud would take the time to really research what's taken place over the last 3 years since the federal government relaxed the law on prosecution of those needing marijuana, they would see the negative impact it's had, especially on the state's young people. You've probably heard some of these statistics before concerning the impact it's had on our kids before, or some of them may surprise you. Statewide drug violations in the schools are up 45% in the last 4 years. Expulsions are up 35%. Nationally, heavy drug use of marijuana among teens is up 80% since 2008, and only 51% of teens now see marijuana as harmful. Nearly 70% of teens admitted to drug treatment facilities are there for marijuana addiction. In fact, more teens in treatment are addicted to marijuana than all other illicit drugs combined. Drug experts and medical professionals believe that if Amendment 64 passes, drug use among those between the ages of 12 and 25 will double. Marijuana use by users under the age of 25 is extremely harmful. Evidence-based studies on this group of young users show that early use has many negative cognitive effects, including early onset psychotic illnesses, anxiety and depression, loss of coping abilities, academic impact, and relational problems. I suspect for many of you parents here tonight, these statistics come as no surprise. If your child has been a user of marijuana, these statistics have become very real as they translate to the heartbreak and conflict it's created in your family. I spoke with many families whose kids were good students, straight A's, who had become aggressive, non-motivated when they started using. Some parents have had to seek treatment when their child has become psychotic, anxious, suicidal, and threatening to other members of the family. Marriages are strained, and so are finances when you speak to them. Many of you may not be convinced that the kids are getting their marijuana from dispensaries. Although that may be true in some cases, what is true, beyond a doubt, is they are getting it from someone else who holds a card. If you don't believe me, just ask them. Many are forthcoming in admitting it. In an article published by the Boulder Daily Camera, 3/4 of the teens admitted to 2 metro area substance abuse programs admitted that they had used someone else's medical marijuana, either grown or purchased through a dispensary with a median usage of 50 times. If you are a patient or you know someone who is, please know that Ordinance 300 will not affect the caregiver model. Patients will still be able to possess 2 ounces and 6 plants, or they can go to another town that welcomes dispensaries in their community. There are 240 patients in Berthoud and over 8,000 residents. The need of a few individuals does not outweigh the good of an entire community. This is a critical time for our community and for our state. Please make an informed vote and take the time to do your homework before it's too late. Our website's a good place to start. Our booth's a good place to start. You'll find nearly 40 links to studies and news articles supporting our claims on our website. So we're asking you to please vote yes on question 300, vote no on 64, and ban the dispensaries and grow operations in our town.
All right, next we have James Shelton, who is the Democrat running for the Colorado State House, District 49.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay? I hear the mic is giving a little bit of fits to some people. Everybody can hear me okay? My name's James Shelton. I'm running for House District 49. To let you know what House District 49 is geographically, it's all the rural parts of Larimer County. It also includes Windsor and a little bit of Johnstown. The main population points are Estes Park, Windsor, Wellington, LaPorte, Livermore, and all the areas in between. And I wanted to let you know I've never been involved in politics. This is brand new for me. I've never ran for anything, never got involved in the political game. I'm learning as I go, so bear with me here. I don't do much public speaking, so hopefully everyone can hear me and things will go well. To let you know a little bit about myself, because most people don't know who I am, I was born in southern Mississippi and to a Baptist preacher. And most people think, my goodness, how the heck did he become a Democrat? Well, I do have some conservative values. Those values are more family values. You know, I was raised on hard work, dedication, integrity, and you know, I think the biggest thing for me was respect. You know, that's something that my mom and dad taught me. My dad, being a preacher, he taught us a lot of things about life, and unfortunately, at the age of 9, I lost my father to lung cancer. And that was tough for me. It forced me to grow up really fast. I had to start pitching in around the house. I had to do chores. I had to cook, clean, go to the grocery store and shop sometimes, and even pay the bills for mom whenever she was working. She had to pick up 2.5 jobs. She had 2 full-time jobs and then a part-time job. She was working 7 days a week. I hardly ever saw her. And I'm giving you this more to paint a picture of who I am and you know what I've become. You know, I think a majority of me as a person was shaped by my childhood. I started to take on more and more responsibility, and at the age of 14 in Mississippi, I could legally drive. And so I started to become independent at a very young age. I got into the workforce when I was 15, started taking on more and more responsibility with every job that I took. And at the age of 17, I started managing teams of people, writing payroll checks, balancing budgets within businesses, and taking on, like I said, more and more responsibility. Today, I'm married. I've been married now for 9 years. We have a little boy. His name's Morgan. He's 3 years old. Adorable little boy, does great new things every single day, and I can't wait until I get home and see him the night before he goes to bed. That's the commitment that I made to my wife whenever I decided to run, that I was going to come home every night before he went to bed, and I was able to read him a bedtime story, tuck him in, and give him a kiss goodnight, and I've been able to hold up that commitment almost every single day. There was 1 or 2 days that I actually had to travel and couldn't come back home that night, but so I'm a family guy. And that just gives you a little bit of background about me. To tell you what I stand for and why I'm running, I'm running because I think that we need to do a better job with the economy. I think that there's things that we can do to help spur job growth, and I think we need to incentivize creative companies and companies that are innovative. And the reason why I support incentivizing creative companies is because I have a little bit of history with creative, innovative companies. For the last 2 years, I've owned my own business. I've been doing strategic planning, business consulting, and financial analysis for small companies in northern Colorado, particularly in Larimer County. I've got a couple of clients in Boulder County as well. But that's near and dear to my heart, is helping entrepreneurs take their idea or their concept and take it to market. And so that's near and dear to my heart. Prior to that, I was with an innovative company in Fort Collins called OtterBox. I started with OtterBox about 6.5 years ago. They only had a handful of employees. They were about $2 million in revenue, and we grew that company. I was part of the leadership team that grew that company in 4 years from $2 million in revenue to over $250 million in revenue, and we added more than 200 jobs in Larimer County. And along that way, I was in charge of various departments with OtterBox. I was in charge of IT, sales, new product introduction, systems, processes, and things like that. And so systems and processes gets me fired up a little bit too. And I think that what we can do with the government is to make it a little bit more efficient as well. I think we need to streamline processes and make sure that that what we work on makes the government, the state government, more efficient, because I think there is waste in some areas that we need to get rid of. And the last thing is education. I have a 3-year-old boy, and I want to just make sure that education is properly funded and make sure that it's taken care of, because we need to invest in education, and the kids are our future. I see my stop sign. I have more to say. If you want to know more, please come to my booth or reach out to me. Thank you, guys.
Next, we have Perry Buck, who is running also for State House District. Okay, I'm reminding, oh, okay, they're coming in. Don't forget, we're holding all the applause till the end. Colorado State House District 49 as a Republican.
Well, hi there. Hello guys. Thanks for joining me. First, I'd like to have everybody here give the League of Women Voters just a nice round of applause for doing this. It's very nice that they're helping to educate the voters. The other thing I'd like to let you know, House District 49. Let me just tell you what House District 49 is. It's all of Larimer County, except for the city of Loveland and except the city of Fort Collins. So if you live outside the city limits and you're in Larimer County, you're mine. It also includes the township of Windsor and a little bit of Johnstown. But again, my name is Perry Buck, and I have to be honest with you, my mother was on the school board for 8 years. My father was county commissioner for 8 years, and then he served in the House for 2 terms. And so I believe it's a genetic problem of mine that I'm up here running for office. But I ask you, everyone in the room, I ask you all to get involved at whatever level that is, whether it's the library districts, your parks and recs, everybody needs to step up. And so I believe in public service, and I'm sure that all of you do, because you wouldn't be here being interested in what we all have to say. What I can bring to the table is that I am a good listener. I am a small business owner. I own Northern Colorado Event Planning. Right now, I took a little leave of absence from New York Life, but I am an elected official in Weld County as county council. We are a home rule charter. I also worked for Governor Owens for 5 years in the Office of Economic Development and International Trade. I have banking experience behind me. But to be honest with you, the platform that I stand for is less government, fiscal responsibility, and personal responsibility. That's the banner that I am proud to represent. That's the banner that I hope to take down if I'm elected at the legislature. So if you do believe in less government and fiscal responsibility and personal responsibility, then I'm your candidate. If you want more information on me, I'm over there at the corner, Perry Buck for House District 49. My information, my cell phone is on there. If there are any questions that you have, I want to hear from you because I want to represent you and nobody else. And my website is perryforcolorado.com. So I'm not going to take any more of your time, but thank you so much for being here. I do want to say, though, that I have a phenomenal husband who is the district attorney. That's Ken Buck. And I have 2 wonderful children. One is a graduate from West Point, is at Fort Riley right now, and the other one is graduating from Clemson in December. So thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful evening. Eat some popcorn.
Okay, our next speaker then is Brian Del Grosso, who is running for the Colorado State House District 51. I think my lines got off here. Yeah, as a Republican. Don't want to get that wrong. Yeah, there you go.
And I also want to thank everyone that helped put this event together, all the volunteers. This is such a great event. And everybody out here tonight that took time to come out and be a part of this political process. This is definitely an amazing event. Can you guys hear me in the back all right, back there? A little bit louder? All right, I'll see if I can lift the mic up. I am Brian Del Grosso. I am running for House District 51. I've been up here one other time, and that was 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, when I stood up on this stage, I didn't make any flashy promises. The only thing that I said that I was going to do was to go down to the Capitol and support common sense legislation and ideas at the Capitol. Common sense legislation, like not placing further burdens on hardworking families and making it harder for them to provide for their families. The state needs to make it where families can keep more of their hard-earned money and spend it on things that they need to spend it on, not being asked to dig deeper into their pockets and put government ahead of their needs. Common sense legislation that says we're not going to put further burdens on our small businesses and job creators. We need to get out of their way so they can prosper and create jobs. We need to make our state's economy more stable, economy more stable, so we can make Colorado more attractive for people to want to come here and do business. Attacking job creators is not going to put the 250,000 unemployed Coloradoans back to work. I've also supported common sense legislation to make sure that our children are having the best education possible. You know, there are over 800,000 kids in our K through 12 age kids in Colorado, and they do not all learn the same way. So we need to make sure that we're supporting all forms of education, and we are giving parents the choice that they need to properly educate their kids. So we need to support whether it's public schools, private schools, online schools, charter schools, and also homeschooling. And then also we need common sense legislation that realizes that the energy industry is an important part of Colorado's economy. We need to promote Colorado's economy through responsible development of all forms of energy. And then common sense legislation that tells government that you need to prioritize your spending just like Colorado families and businesses have had to do. And then we also need to make sure that we're drafting a responsible budget that doesn't do things like kick the can down the road or rely on gimmicks to balance the budget. I submit to you that I've lived up to my commitment to support common sense policies and ideas down there at Denver. I also have a proven record of being able to work across the aisle to get things done when we need to get them done. I've also ran and passed legislation that have helped many right here in Larimer County, but I've also done it in a fiscally responsible way. You know, everybody says it up here, but I can truly say it, that it has been an honor and a privilege to have been able to go down to Denver and to represent and serve you at the state capitol. And I hope that you feel like that I have represented you and your families well, and I hope to earn your vote and support in this next election. Thank you.
All right, next on your program is Mark Schaefer. Unfortunately, he has had a family emergency and will not be with us this evening. So as those of you who were here at the very beginning of the evening know, we announced how we were going to do this if we had openings. So, all right. So the person who is going to be speaking is actually related, or is the pro in support of the City of Fort Collins Initiative 301, repealing prohibition of operation of medical marijuana businesses. So I think that we just be careful you don't bump that button, I think is the deal. Go ahead and see.
Save your applause for later.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good evening, and thanks for being out here tonight. My name is Steve Ackerman. I can't see you all because I've got a big lectern here in the middle that I'll try to peek around without falling off. I've lived in Fort Collins for 40 years. Can you hear it? Am I breaking up again now? I've lived in Fort Collins for 40 years, and I am also a medical marijuana patient. I was injured in a car accident a little over 25 years ago, and I began to suffer uncontrollable spasms in my lower extremities as a result of a spinal cord injury, which is also why I'm in this wheelchair. I was given a prescription that worked for a while, but after increasing doses and uncomfortable side effects and decreasing effectiveness, I asked my neurosurgeon for some advice on what to do next. And this is 25 years ago. He said, "Steve, if I could, I would prescribe you marijuana. It seems to be effective for your problem." Needless to say, it was pretty easy to find marijuana on the streets back then. And I'll admit I broke the law, and I found a medication that works very well for me in controlling my spasms to this very day. In November of 2000, 13 years later, a majority of Colorado voters voted to amend the Constitution, to allow for the use of marijuana for certain medical conditions with the recommendation of a licensed doctor. A registry was initiated and patients in need of this unique and effective medicine slowly began to be added to it. Qualifying conditions include debilitating illnesses such as cancer and multiple sclerosis, as well as chronic pain. A recommendation of the registry allows a patient to grow 6 marijuana plants or assign the task of growing to another person who would be designated as their caregiver. By 2010, the registry had grown to around 80,000 patients, and some caregivers began growing on a much larger scale. Storefronts known as dispensaries started appearing. Seeing an uncontrolled, chaotic situation quickly getting out of hand, the Colorado legislature, through House Bill 1284 and Senate Bill 109, created laws mandating the control of medical marijuana business and charging the Department of Revenue to formulate and enforce rules. The Medical Marijuana Enforcement Division was created to regulate and control this business by instituting a licensing scheme with the Medical Marijuana Center as the licensed entity that would grow and provide medical marijuana to patients on a retail level. The days of the Wild West were over. Regulation was occurring. These highly regulated centers are licensed by the state, and they soon had to conform to rules that include having 24-hour, 7-day-a-week surveillance with cameras uploaded to the internet, monitored by Department of Revenue officers for compliance in all premises of the licensed operation. These licensed centers provide a safe and secure location for registered patients to obtain their medication. Patient IDs are checked, all transactions are monitored and recorded, and sales tax is collected. Fort Collins medical marijuana businesses collected and remitted over $500,000 in sales tax revenue to the city of Fort Collins, the county of Larimer, and the state of Colorado in 2011. As in any other business, the patient, given choices, can decide who they want their supplier to be. The ones that do a good job and follow the rules will survive. The ones that don't will not. The ban of licensed and regulated medical marijuana centers has resulted in increased residential growing operations with no government oversight. The guy selling pot on the street corner does not check IDs. Given a choice, most medical marijuana patients would prefer to obtain their medication from a licensed center over the alternative sources that are available. Opponents to medical marijuana businesses in Fort Collins cite public safety issues such as increased crime and increased teen usage with the presence of licensed centers in our town. This could not be further from the truth. In fact, it is through strict regulation, licensing, and control that access by unauthorized users is restricted. In October 2011 analysis done by the Fort Collins Coloradoan found no increase in marijuana-related crimes in Fort Collins from the years 2007 to 2011, a period of time beginning before centers were present in the community to near the time they were shut down. I'm being asked to stop. I just wanted to tell you to please vote for regulation. It's better than probation. Vote yes on 301. Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is Bob Moraine, running for the Colorado State House, District 52, as a Republican.
Good evening, and thank you to the League for sponsoring this rally tonight. It's great to see you all here. It's wonderful to see people who are concerned about their government and want to be involved. I thank you for being here. I applaud you. My name is Bob Moraine. I'm running for State House in District 52. I've been a resident of Fort Collins for 31 years. My wife and I have raised 5 children here, and they've all been to Fort Collins public schools. We love Fort Collins. We moved here straight out of college. My wife was a nurse at Poudre Valley Hospital when we first moved here, and I started at Hewlett-Packard. I worked at Hewlett-Packard for 27 years. I took one of their retirement packages and started doing consulting with small and medium-sized businesses in software engineering. Then, in the recent years, I've joined with a business partner, and we started a small consumer electronics business, which keeps us quite busy. Not bringing in quite the income we want yet, but it's keeping us quite busy. I am running because I am very concerned about opportunity in Colorado and throughout our nation. My father was the son of a migrant worker in Oklahoma and Kansas. Rarely had enough to eat, 8 children crowded in a 2-room house, and yet from that, he rose to be a high-level executive at a Fortune 100 company, and retired well, and was able to take care of his family all his life. He was able to take care of his brothers and sisters who didn't have as much as he did, his parents. I wonder how many children of migrant workers today dream of being able to rise to what he rose to. My goal, the reason I'm running, is to make sure that that American dream doesn't get lost, that that opportunity is available for everyone. Jobs and economy right now are obviously the #1 issue in Colorado. Our unemployment rate is higher than the national average, and in fact, we are losing jobs faster than the rest of the country is gaining jobs. This is not where we want Colorado to be. If you ask business owners why they are not hiring, why they are not expanding, they will give you real answers. Unfortunately, most of our legislators don't listen to their answers. I have a friend who had a small business in Old Town Fort Collins, a little retail outlet, and wanted to expand. So she looked for months and months to find another place. She found a place that would be just perfect. And when she decided to buy it, she began to find that between state and local regulations and fees and taxes, she would have to pay over $140,000 in addition to the purchase price just to open the doors. She left Fort Collins with her business, let go of the people who were working here in Fort Collins, moved to Cheyenne, opened it up, and is having a great business there, and I'm sure Wyoming loves the extra jobs that she's provided. This is not what we want for Colorado. Taxes. How many of you have been reading the papers lately about what businesses are doing, for example, restaurant chains are doing because of the fear of what's going to happen with the Health Care Act? Chains like Olive Garden and Red Lobster, these big chains all across the nation, knowing that they will have to pay fees or great insurance policies for all of their employees that are full-time, which the Act defines as 30 hours a week, have decided there's a simple solution. We only hire people for 29.5 hours a week. This is great for the economy. Fewer and fewer people will have full-time jobs, benefits, or even enough money to pay their bills. This is not what government is to do, and yet every time government thinks they're doing a good thing, their unintended consequences reach out and hurt jobs. I'm running to make sure in Denver we're looking at the long term. We're looking at the big picture. There's so many things we want to talk about, but we don't have time. I'd love to tell you some of the ideas I have for improving education across the state. Education, especially in Metro Denver, is failing too many of our students. We need to get it better. Higher education is being pressured for budget. A large part of it has to do with the way our Constitution limits what we can do for that, and we have to do for other things. Fiscal responsibility. Brian Del Grosso already talked about how important it is that we have people that really pay attention to the budget. I want to join him with that. Most importantly, for everyone here, people are more important than any program of the government. We need to remember that every program is meant to serve the people, and if it's not serving them, we need to either eliminate or improve the program. And finally, principles are more important than politics. It's not about what party you're in, it's how well you can govern. And I've pledged to follow sound principles. Thank you very much for being here. My name is Bob Moraine.
Next on the agenda is Randy Fisher, running for Colorado State House District 53 as a Democrat.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Randy Fisher. I'm the state representative for House District 53. House District 53 is the west side of Fort Collins, basically everything west of College Avenue. But according to the reapportionment, I now have a few neighborhoods to the east of College Avenue as well. So if you live in Fort Collins, west of College Avenue, I'm probably your state representative. I've been in office now for 6 years, and I've served as a member of the House Agriculture, Livestock, and Natural Resources Committee. I was the chairman of that committee for a year, and am now the ranking member. I also serve on the Transportation Committee and have for most of my legislative career. I'm running for office because I feel I have a responsibility to serve the people of Colorado in a way that reflects the values of my constituents in Fort Collins. I also believe in the power of deliberative democracy, and that's why I want to add my applause to the League of Women Voters for convening forums like this that give us the opportunity to reach out and actively engage our constituents and people. And I congratulate you for getting actively involved in the process. As a state legislator, I work every day to help create good public policies that help build community, create prosperity, and help us protect the environment and our quality of life. As I walk and go door to door in my neighborhoods in House District 53, I hear repeatedly that everybody is mainly concerned about jobs and the economy, and they want to know what I'm going to do to help restore the economy and bring back jobs to our communities. And of course, I think the state does have a role in job creation and economic development, and we do have an Office of Economic Development and International Trade. It has a very small budget. So the solution has to lie outside of that budget. And I think that one of the ways we can create jobs in Colorado and are creating jobs is to invest in our infrastructure. And by infrastructure, I'm talking about a couple of things, not just transportation, but water supply and water quality, and also the human infrastructure that makes our economy work here in Colorado. And I'm talking about students and public education teachers. You know, during the economic downturn, we cut almost $2 billion out of our K-12 education budget, which meant laying off hundreds, if not thousands, of teachers across the state. We can create jobs almost overnight if we just restore those budgets that we've cut to K-12 education, and that'll create thousands of jobs just in itself. We, in Colorado, invest less than almost any state in the nation in our education system. In fact, we are about $1,800 on average below the national average of per pupil funding of states in the nation. I think that's unacceptable, and one of the things I've worked on when I'm in the legislature is to make sure that we have full funding for education, for the cost of actually educating our students. I also believe in investing in higher education. I have two great institutions of higher education in my district, Colorado State University and Front Range Community College. And both of those institutions are the engines of our economy, and I believe are deserving of greater investment, public investment, in the students that go there and the researchers that do their work, and the faculty and the administrators that drive our economy in Fort Collins. I don't think access to higher education should depend on the person's station in life. I think we need to provide access to anyone who is willing to do the work to get a higher education degree. And one statistic I've heard recently is that the unemployment rate for college graduates is 4%. So that's less than the national average. And I think what that points out is the value of a college education in driving our economy. As a member of the Natural Resources Committee, I've also heard a lot about oil and gas development, and people want to know what I'm going to do to help them deal with the environmental and human health risks associated with oil and gas development. And that's, I'm sure, an issue that's going to come up in the legislature, and I think I'd be happy to chat with you more about my ideas for dealing with oil and gas development, but suffice to say that since I've been in the legislature, we've completely reformed the oil and gas regulation environment in Colorado. Thank you.
Relating to the use and regulation of marijuana, and she is with the group Campaign to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Betty Aldworth, and I am Advocacy Director for the Campaign to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol, and I am a proud member of the League of Women Voters in Denver County. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight about Amendment 64, the initiative to regulate marijuana like alcohol. 80 years ago this year, Coloradans recognized that alcohol prohibition was an utterly failed policy that rather than achieving its stated goals of greater temperance and improved communities, in fact, increased alcohol use in communities and empowered criminals and gangs. Rather than creating a better society, it created a much more dangerous society. We stand here 80 years later in a very similar position. Marijuana prohibition has utterly failed in all of its stated goals. Over the course of the past 40 years, since the war on marijuana began in earnest, we have not seen the use of or availability of marijuana decrease in any significant manner for either youth or adults. Amendment 64 takes a sensible, evidence-based approach to marijuana policy and allows our state to stop wasting its resources on the failures of marijuana prohibition. Amendment 64 does three things. It decriminalizes adult use and possession of marijuana completely, up to 1 ounce of marijuana, and that use is only private use. So people will not be able to use marijuana in parks or walking down the sidewalk, for example. It establishes a system of retail stores, very similar to liquor stores, where marijuana can be sold to people 21 and over who demonstrate their age by showing ID. It also allows for the cultivation, processing, and sale of industrial hemp, which is an enormously beneficial agricultural product. By virtue of these three actions of Amendment 64, what we anticipate, one moment. Let me step back and talk about some of the things that Amendment 64 does not do. Amendment 64 does not infringe in any way on the state legislature's right to regulate driving under the influence or driving while impaired. The state legislature is still permitted to answer that question, and Amendment 64 does not touch it, except to say that the state legislature gets to hold on to that. It does not in any way change the relationship between employees, employers, and marijuana. So all current policies that employers have related to marijuana, they are able to maintain, and those policies will not be changed by Amendment 64. Additionally, the amendment allows localities to ban marijuana retail establishments. So similar to medical marijuana, counties and localities can ban the stores themselves. The things that Amendment 64 really does, though, it will redirect law enforcement resources to the tune of $12 million annually away from marijuana prohibition activities and towards the sorts of serious and harmful crimes that Coloradans really care about. It will reduce youth access to marijuana by taking marijuana off of the streets, where it is currently universally available to youth and adults, and place it behind a counter where responsible business people are charged with ensuring that it doesn't get into the wrong hands. It will bolster Colorado's economy with significant tax revenues and job creation. The state excise and sales taxes alone are projected to be between $60 and $120 million annually. And it will stop the arrest and prosecution of more than 10,000 Colorado adults every year for simple marijuana possession. Colorado adults who are then faced with a drug charge on their record and may have trouble finding employment or housing in the future. I urge you to join me, the NAACP, the ACLU of Colorado, Tom Tancredo, Senator Sean Mitchell, 300 Colorado physicians, 130 academics, and hundreds of others in supporting Amendment 64. Again, this is a sensible and evidence-based approach to marijuana policy in Colorado, and I, for one, am sick of wasting our resources on an utterly failed policy of marijuana prohibition. Thank you very much for your time.
Our next speaker is opposed to Colorado Ballot Measure 64, related to the use and regulation of marijuana, and his group is Is that loud enough? His group is No on 64 Smart Colorado. Make sure you get that mic.
Thanks. Where is everybody? Does anybody want to talk about weed? We're going to talk about weed over here for a minute, if anybody else wants to come over. Amendment 64 is something that I'm opposed to. I actually left my job to help with this campaign because I think that there's a couple of major flaws inside of it. So let me just point out the big ones, and if anybody would like to speak in more detail, I'll be over at a table right over there, and I'm happy to take plenty of time with you. So first of all, this is a proposed amendment to the Colorado Constitution. This is approximately 3,500 words that we would be adding to the Constitution. This is not how you change laws. You change these things by legislation. To put this into the Constitution puts us in a very awkward position where if we decide that somewhere in this 3,500 words we want to change this at some point, we have to then again amend the state constitution. So a couple of examples I can give you that I'm pretty sure that within a year or two, most people in Colorado are going to realize we should have done a little bit differently. There's no residency requirement inside of this. That means that anyone could come from anywhere, do drugs here, purchase drugs here, and leave with them. It will make us the epicenter for marijuana in America. It just will. And some folks are okay with that. I see that as a bad thing. So one of the big issues that we've got is the residency requirement. If we pass this as a constitutional amendment, we cannot change that outside of another constitutional amendment. Colorado is kind of out of control with the way we do constitutional amendments to begin with, and for me, this was a huge one. When I saw that, I said, okay, I got to get involved because we can't keep trying to legislate through the Constitution. The other big one is the conflict with federal law. So there's going to be a showdown that happens at some point. It's already happening in California on a lot of levels with the medicinal side. The feds have said, okay, not that big of a deal, you guys do what you want, and then the dispensary model opened and everybody started opening up shops. So then the feds had to react, they just had to. So when a state legalizes this, we're going to put the feds in a very awkward position. If you guys remember the law in Arizona, the immigration reform law that the Supreme Court then struck down, the majority decision, they said that a state law may not supersede a federal law, ever. So it's forcing their hand in this. I don't want Colorado to be the lightning rod state for that. Again, there are some people who think, fantastic, let's do it here, let's prove a point. I am not one of those people. I would rather see that happen somewhere else so that we don't have to figure out with the feds what their reaction is going to be. Big one is going to be the law enforcement, the numbers around this, the money that we're talking about spending and saving. So the 10,500 arrests that take place in Colorado are citations. Up to an ounce of marijuana, up to 2 ounces of marijuana, which depending on who's rolling the joint, is about 120 joints, is a citable offense of $100. That's why the law enforcement organizations in the state are overwhelmingly behind us. And I'd love to show you guys the list of it, from the Sheriff's Association to the Fraternal Order of Police to the Colorado Drug Investigators. They all are saying, no, this claim that we're going to save cop time and save cop money just doesn't fly. The other thing is this excise tax. So please, when you go back to your blue book and you read this thing, note that there is no excise tax tied to Amendment 64. What there is language that says that the legislator shall enact an excise tax not to exceed 15%. Astute room here, you guys will know that under Tabor, it's illegal for us to require the legislator to vote on a tax. We can't do that. We hope that they take the tax up. We really do. But there is no excise tax tied to this. So when you think about the way that regulate alcohol like marijuana like alcohol, last year, according to SAMHSA, America brought in taxable revenue from alcohol $14 billion. It cost us $184 billion treating the negative effects of alcohol. This is a net loser for Colorado. We should not be locking people up for smoking weed. We are not locking people up for smoking weed. American Association of Pediatrics, American Medical Association, all of these folks are totally in agreement with us, not a doc here and a doc there. CU Regents, please come over. I'll show you the whole list of everybody who is. That's my time. Thank you, guys.
We're now on to Cindy Anderson, who is running for the Colorado State Senate District 14 as a Republican.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to know when you're loved. My name is Cindy Anderson. I'm running for Colorado State Senate District 14, which consists of most of Fort Collins. I'm not your average candidate. I'm actually an engineer, an alternative energy specialist, small business owner, wife, and most importantly, mother. In fact, the major reasons I'm running here today include this young lady right here and her 3 younger brothers. This is my daughter, Lael, and she's actually taller than I am, but I don't admit that very often. I'm running because the last 4 to 6 years, we have seen our electricity prices skyrocket. We have seen under and unemployment go through the roof. And we've seen a lot of issues with our educational system. Energy prices right now. Raise, how many of you guys saw your energy prices went up this summer? Yeah, almost everybody. As I've walked through Fort Collins, knocking door after door after door, everyone tells me that their power bills have gone up. And these are families with modest homes, no air conditioning, and they've gone up $50, $100, $200. These families are making the choice to not pay their water bill. Their grass is all dead, their trees are dead, because they can't afford both power and water. $200 is a lot of groceries. $200 is a lot of school clothes for your kids getting ready for school. $200 is a lot of gasoline. Well, maybe not quite so much gasoline as it used to be. Ladies and gentlemen, our energy prices are currently 24% higher than they were in Colorado alone, and they're actually expected to double in the next 5 to 10 years, and possibly triple. We have mandates put in place by people who don't understand them. There's good ideas out there. Now, I have over 10 years alternative energy experience. I understand the technologies at hand. I know and love solar energy. I see wind used appropriately all the time. But when we have a mandate for 30%, when there is no grid out there experimental in anyone's books that can get more than 20% alternative energy, there's a problem. There's a huge, huge roadblock to putting in more than 20% alternative energy, and it's storage. The best ways that we have to store alternative energy right now is pumping water uphill or putting compressed air into giant salt caverns. I am all for alternative energy, but I don't want to make it impossible to raise a family or to have a business in the state of Colorado. They've done tiered rates here, and the idea behind tiered rates is to make everyone conserve. When you've got a household that's got 4 to 6 people in it, there's no way you are going to use the same amount of energy as one person in one apartment. But you're being taxed for it anyhow. You're paying through it through the roof. It doesn't work. My own family, both my parents have living with them my grandmother, and my brother and his 2 sons and his wife with multiple sclerosis. That puts them well into the tiered areas. They are paying so much electricity. My 97-year-old grandmother has to be in a house that's 85 degrees because that's all that they can afford to pay. Our education system is in dire need of help. We're living under so many mandates right now, over and over again, made by these people who live so far away. These tests that are made over in Washington, D.C., these mandates, We've got people in Denver who think that they need the schools the same here as they are in Denver. Our kids are different. We shouldn't have to put each kid in a separate slot. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm running for state senate in Fort Collins. I am giving up engineering work to go and work at our state senate. I have devoted my life to alternative energy, to working with people with disabilities, for fighting for the little guy and the little girl. I ask for your vote tonight. Please come and talk to me. Thank you.
All right, next we have John Kafalis, who is running for the Colorado State Senate District 14 as a Democrat.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, for sticking this out. Just think you could be on your TV watching the vice presidential debate. I just caught a bit of that on the radio. It's quite entertaining. My name is John Kafalis. Can everyone hear me okay? My name is John Kafalis. I'm running for Senate District 14, which would represent the entire city of Fort Collins. I am currently the state representative for House District 52, which is mostly the east side of Fort Collins. I have served in the state legislature for the last 6 years. I currently serve on the House Finance Committee as well as the House Health and Environment Committee. Let me tell you, it's been a journey, but it's been a very honorable journey. I believe that this elected office, is one way of doing public service. And let me tell you why I'm running for the Senate. First of all, the seat is being vacated by Senator Bob Bacon, who is an elder statesman who is term limited, and the opportunity arose for me to run to be able to continue my public service and try and focus on the issues that matter to folks. Fort Collins has been my home for the last 36 years. I have raised my family in Fort Collins. I care deeply about Fort Collins. I graduated from Colorado State University in 1978 with a Bachelor of Science degree in botany. I went into the Peace Corps. I came back from the Peace Corps, and I would submit to you that I had a rather transformative experience. Most of my professional life has been either direct human service work. I've worked as a teacher. I've worked as a job training counselor. But essentially, I have worked with folks oftentimes who are living on the margins, and I've tried to help as a counselor for them to figure out what they need to do to get ahead in their lives. In this campaign, I've talked a lot about my father. My father died in 1982. He's a first-generation Greek immigrant. He came over on the boat. He worked in his diners most of his life because he didn't have much of an education. But among other things, he lived and he taught me 3 things: work hard, be honest, and serve others. And in the State House the last 6 years, and in my community the last 36 years, that's how I've tried to live my life, to work very hard for people, to try and be honest. And you know, it's not always easy being honest in this interesting political system that we have, and indeed to see this job as a public servant. I believe that I have had great success. Where are the cards? Oh, you guys have the cards? I still have time? Oh, great. Piece of cake. I'm sorry, well, I wasn't seeing the cards. There's always cards, you know. Work hard, be honest, and serve others. That's how I've tried to live my life. In the State House, I believe that I've had good success in bringing people together. That's another reason that I'm running. There's too much divisiveness in this country. There's too much divisiveness in this state. We need to have folks in public office who will do their utmost to do this job with integrity and build bridges, bring people together to solve complex problems that face our communities, and to get beyond the partisanship, the hyper-partisanship, and to say that we are all Coloradans, that we are all Americans. And yes, we come from particular parties, and yes, we don't always agree on things, but I submit to you that we would do better off if we could try to focus on those things that we do agree on and that we do have common ground. I have 2 sons. One works at the Comfort Inn up the road a ways. He's a 2008 CSU graduate. I have my older son, Harlan, who is a staff sergeant in the United States Army. He's been deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, and I try not to play this, the military thing, but my son was here with the family because we had a death in the family, and everybody was here, and I was just really happy and honored to be with him. I am here to respectfully ask for your vote for me to be the next state senator in Fort Collins. I will continue to work hard. I will continue to engage you all, because I don't know if you've noticed, I don't have all the answers. But I want to focus on an economy, building an economy that helps middle-class folks, that helps bring people together, an economy that serves all of us. I always forget this, but I'm not going to do it tonight. Go to my website if you want to see more information about me, johnkafalis.org. My cell number, write it down, 720-254-7598. Give me a call. Thank you very much. God bless you.
All right, next is the unaffiliated candidate for Colorado State Senate District 14, Barrett Roth.
Good evening. Thank you all for sticking around. I know it's getting later. Luckily, we're closing up, and I think the congressional candidates are on next. Before I get started, can I just ask for a show of hands, how many of you live in Fort Collins? We have some in the audience? All right. Well, thank you for coming. My name is Barrett Roth. I'm running for the 14th Senate District to represent Fort Collins in the State Senate. I'm running as an independent candidate. I'm unaffiliated. I'm a centrist. I'm a moderate. I got into this race because I believe that we haven't been very well served by partisan politics in recent years. I believe there are a lot of us. Can all of you hear me? I think my mouth is trailing away from the microphone as I move my head. I believe we haven't been very well served by partisan politics in recent years, and I wanted to show that there are moderates and centrists and people that just want to solve problems and get things done and move on, not have constant back and forth political battles about it, and not just try to win our next election. John, to his credit, I would echo what he said. We come from different parties. There are a lot of things we agree on. There are a lot of things we don't. We do best when we step up and act like adults and try to come together to work on the things that matter to us. Some of the things that matter to me the most, why I'm running, are education, energy, infrastructure, and small business growth. I think we need to provide a 21st century education to all Colorado students. I don't think we do a very good job of that. I think we need to churn out high school graduates that are either ready to enter the college classroom or ready to enter the global workforce. Right now, I think we fail on both fronts. I'm a small business owner. I own a coffee shop at the CSU College of Business. I think that small business is the lifeblood of the economy. I think Colorado could do a lot more to be a better place to do business, to be a better place to be fertile ground for entrepreneurs and innovators. And I think we can make the state a lot more competitive in the nation as a place to be a good state for business. Energy. I'm on the City of Fort Collins Energy Board. I'm the vice chair. My energy policy, kind of in a short sentence, is I want to keep energy affordable in the short term and sustainable in the long term. I think we need to use some of these bridge fuels to a more sustainable future. I don't like picking winners and losers in government. I think that a better answer would, as I said, would be to make Colorado a better place for all businesses to do business. I think green industry will benefit from that. But I think we need to move toward a sustainable energy future. I think that that's an admirable goal. I think the state has a role in being a partner in that goal. And then infrastructure is one that I think we don't talk about enough, but I want to bring to your attention in Colorado. Right now, probably 15, 20 years down the line, we're going to have substantial infrastructure problems in Colorado if we don't invest in infrastructure now. Now, that's as simple as investing in roads and bridges, repairing them and all that, but if we invest now, which can be a little difficult on our budget, our strained budget, we will save a lot of money in the future when we have to solve our problems. Our roads and bridges are crumbling, more people are moving into Colorado, and we aren't keeping pace with growth. Our infrastructure is going to crumble if we don't do something about it. I think we need to be looking at that problem now rather than 10, 15 years down the road. I also really want to work on interregional transportation, high-speed rail on the Front Range and interregional natural gas buses. I realize none of that's extremely exciting at 8:30 or 8 o'clock at night when you're all hoping to get home, but Those are the issues I focus on. I'm not just a one-trick pony on the independent front. I try to push the issues and get people talking about the things that we don't talk about enough. One of the things I really feel we don't talk about enough that is a big reason why, or something I can really play a role in this campaign, we really have to look at Tabor, the Gallagher Amendment, and Amendment 23 and constitutional contradictions in Colorado and address those unsustainable problems in our state constitution. I always save my qualifications for last. As I said, small business owner, Energy Board of Fort Collins. I have a master's degree in public administration, taught public speaking at the University of Northern Colorado, my alma mater. I got my graduate degree from CU. But really, I tell people that anybody can do this, that your resume isn't necessarily important, that if you are passionate about Colorado, if you want to make a difference, then you can be a state legislator, I promise you. And we would do a lot better if we had 100 state legislators that thought that way, that were trying to do the best job they could, that wanted to be people that could just go home and feel like they did a good job and didn't have quite as much of an agenda. I'm here to serve that interest. I'd appreciate your vote. My website is rothcolorado.com. That's R-O-T-H-E, colorado.com, if you have any interest in it. And I'll be around for a little while after this. But again, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming. If we all got this involved, I think elections would be a lot less frustrating. But anyway, have a good night, and thank you again.
The next speaker is Vicki Marble, who is running for Colorado State Senate District 23 as a Republican.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for staying for the late night show. What you're going to see here are a lot of people holding up these little cards, and you wonder, what the heck? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you take these home, add water, they immediately turn into a 4x8 that you put in your front yard. So there you go. My name is Vicki Marble, running for Senate District 23, which encompasses all of Broomfield, western Weld County, eastern Larimer County, east of I-25, and south of Vine Drive. I am a free market capitalist. I am a proud mother and a Marine mom. I'm a job creator and a business owner. I'm addicted to work. I love it. I don't think I'm ever going to retire. And I think there's a lot of people in here who feel the same way. I believe in reliable, abundant, and affordable energy. But it's unfortunate that the state of Colorado has a $20 a ton coal tax, the only state in the United States with such a tax. I am also a big advocate for school choice. I would like to say that we owe our children a good, safe, and affordable education. School choice through tax credits, which actually attaches the money to the child. And then that parent and child can decide where they want to go to school, where they want to get the education, be it homeschool, religious school, private, or public. This will really, really be a wonderful opportunity to engage in true free education. Colorado, it's unfortunate, it's last in economic recovery. Do you know that 7 counties in the state of Colorado have an unemployment rate above 19.5%? And that in the last 4 out of 5 months, we have had a decline in our job market. We have no jobs. Unemployment is rising. And it doesn't look like, we're going to recover anytime soon. In fact, at this rate, we will not get below 6% unemployment rate until 2025. That's unacceptable. I would like to say that there's also 2 independent teams of economists who predict Colorado unemployment rate will increase to near recession levels by 2013. That's next year. You know what's causing our unemployment rates to soar? It's overregulation and taxation. We need to get a grip. We can't drill, we can't refine, we can't do anything. And I have a business that relies on refrigeration, and we're looking at 1,000% increase in our energy rates between now and 2020. That's going for you too in your homes. We will see no increase in the quality of service we get. In fact, sometimes they'll even turn it off if they think you're using too much. But that cost an increase in our energy rates is going to have to be passed on some way, and that's to the consumer. That's not right. We can't afford it. We need sensible people. We need people who know business. We know people who love their families and are willing to work hard to secure a future for them. And I also want to come out in 8 years in a better environment for employment than when I went in. I'm Vicki Marble, and I thank you so much for your time.
So with that, the first one that we have on your program is Susan Hall, who is running, as I said, for U.S. Congress District 2 from the Green Party.
Make sure they can hear you, so make sure you try out that microphone.
Okay.
Where the best place is.
All right, well, it's nice to see everybody, and thank you for having me. I'm hoping that you'll want to put a new green hall in the house. Remember, my name is Susan Hall. So also, I'm glad to get to come and excited to share some of the ideas that we have behind our new Green Deal. It was designed by our presidential candidate, Dr. Jill Stein. She says that she adopted the ideas from President Roosevelt in a time when there was a Great Depression of 25% unemployment, and still that president decided that we should be responsible for putting everyone to work who wanted to work, and I think we need to do that today. Another part of our green plan is to make sure that everybody has a job, and not only that, but that we secure Social Security. That was done at that time, and we need to continue to do it today. And we could save our country $1 trillion if we go ahead and have Medicare for all. We would like to emphasize the word green, and it's not just a New Deal, but it's a Green New Deal because we want to look at new jobs that have to do with sustainability. We want local jobs, independent jobs, corporate jobs, and using materials that we know will be sustainable. Certainly hemp is one of those materials that would be sustainable over petroleum-based materials. We also support the legalization of both hemp and cannabis. We think it's time, but we don't want to do it just at a local level and not at a national level because we don't think it's fair that people can be arrested by the national level, and yet it's legal at the local level. So that's kind of where we stand on that. We also do not ever support nuclear contaminations, nuclear plants, or nuclear weapons. We are against the fracking. It takes 2 to 8 million gallons of water to frack a well. We have 47,000 wells in Colorado. I don't think we can exchange a more valuable resource, which is water, for oil. We need to change that. And also we need to talk about budgets. The Democrats are following 2 different budgets. They have the Progressive People's budget and they have the Simpson-Bowles budget. The Simpson-Bowles budget is going to try to help pay off the $16 trillion deficit on the backs of the middle class and the poor. They're going to have a straight cut straight across. Well, I think that there are record profits in this country from many of our oil corporations and other corporations, and I think we should give them the opportunity to have their tax rates increased. You know, I am with a group in Boulder who were quite wealthy when they were growing up, and they said, you know, it was an honor in my family to be able to contribute back to my country. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, we've made it so, we've done so well, we want to keep all our money and buy something else. They felt honored to be able to give it back to their country. So that's one of the things I think about. I also have an issue on education. And the issue is, I think that we need a lot more information given to our young people about where they live and about what's going on in their government. I talk to people all the time about the National Defense Authorization Act. They don't even know what it is. I talk to them about the Canvas Board. They don't know what the Canvas Board is. I talk to them about Diebold machines and how many people had the Diebold machines rejected when they were trying to vote. I think we should all know these things before we get out of high school. We should know what it takes to register to vote, know what the parties stand for, and independent Bernie Sanders has been our only independent senator. But I look at the things that he signed, and I have come to the conclusion that it may be as important to look at what our senators are signing on Thomas.gov as it is to know who and where they came from. So, but I will tell you where I came from. I am a 4th generation here in Colorado. I grew up here. I raised my children here. And I hope you will put a green hall in the house. Thank you very much.
All right, next is Randy Llewellyn, who's running also for U.S. Congress District 2 as a Libertarian.
Thank you. Make sure, I didn't even do very well. Make sure they can hear you.
Thank you so much. I'm deeply grateful for the League of Women Voters for this forum in which all the candidates are treated equally and fairly. It's very rare. Thank you so much. I am Randy Llewellyn, Libertarian candidate for Congress District 2. During my life of over half a century, this country has been in perpetual, undeclared war and police action, unbridled debt and spending, increasing taxation, stricter control. This paradigm or pattern has been foisted on us by the Democratic and Republican parties. The polarized state they give us differ only in how they will tax us, how they will spend your money, and how they will perpetuate war. This two-party system is filled with greed, with corruption, and with control. This paradigm will not change if you continue to elect them into office. The Libertarian Party, of which I belong, offers balance and freedom. Government which is reduced in size and fiscally sound with a balanced budget now. Freedom to determine what is best for you within the boundaries of the rights of your fellow citizens. You will decide who you can marry, what to do with your body, how you wish to educate yourself, what health plan you choose, which is best for you. Government that protects your rights and our shores and not perpetrate aggression and control of other sovereign nations and cultures. With this balanced approach, we as a people can solve the issues that face us as a nation. We can ensure individual freedom, create jobs in the private sector, not jobs paid by taxpayers, reduce the cost of health care for everyone, protect our commonwealth of air, water, and land. We are a compassionate, ingenious, and industrious people, but it is only in the atmosphere of choice and liberty that competition, excellence, and efficiency can prevail. We can still be the land of the free and the home of the brave, but only if we stop being afraid to vote for what we want. Most of our decisions about our lives should be made here in our own homes and communities, not in Washington. Government should be respecting and protecting your rights, not infringing on them. The two gentlemen after me will attempt to convince you there is only two choices, Republican and Democrat. The same paradigm. We offer peace and prosperity. The choice is yours. Send a message to Washington. Send me to Washington, and you will not be disappointed. Thank you.
Next speaker is Kevin Lundberg, running for U.S. Congress District 2 as a Republican.
Thank you, Dixie. I appreciate the kind introduction and the time we can spend here really looking into the issues that are most important to all of us. And I hope we'll truly see this as not just a political exercise, but an actual activity that will determine much of the future direction for our state, for our nation. You put all of the candidates together and turn that into an elected official group, you find that you really do have some choices that will make a significant difference in our lives and in the lives of those who follow. I would like to first thank all of those who stand here with me, all of those who have spent so much time. I've been very much humbled and challenged by the commitment that I've seen among so many people, and I've never seen this before. Many people are understanding how important it is and how this election will shape much of our future, from the presidential election to the congressional races to the state legislative races and all of the other important decisions that we have to make. And again, I say thank you to all of you who stand with me and have stood for so many months, and we've got a few more weeks to go. It's important that we do all we can, not just for this race, but for every race. This has been a grassroots campaign. It's been a campaign that many of the political pundits back in Washington said, oh no, don't worry, that race is already determined. Well, when I looked at the people from the 2nd Congressional, and I'm talking about the new 2nd Congressional District that includes Larimer County, Broomfield, a good portion of Boulder County, the western part of Jefferson County, Park County, Gilpin County, Clear Creek, Summit, Grand, the eastern part of Eagle County, all the way past Vail. It's a big picture that's kind of a slice of Colorado. And I believe that the people within the 2nd Congressional truly want to make a decision, to make a difference, to send a message to Washington. And here's the message I will send. No more spending. No more growth that we can't afford. And it's growth in government. It's not growth in our economy. Look at what's happened in the last several years. The economy just can't get going. We seem to be in this economic malaise that we can't break out of. Folks, we're spending more than we can afford. We are spending our children's future. That has to stop. And I will go to Washington to stop that. Now, my Democratic opponent, he'll give you soothing words that will sound reasonable. But I say, let's go beyond the words to the facts. Look at his record. Look at my record. I've spent 10 years in the state legislature. I stand firmly for the principles of limited government. I also believe that state powers are very important, that the federal government, that Congress has overridden its authority again and again and again, and that has to stop. I will not participate in growing more of the federal system that we cannot afford, that we cannot live under as free people. My libertarian opponent made some statements to the effect that Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. I want to tell you, it does matter. And in this race, there's a stark difference. The difference is between liberty or more of the same, between holding the line on the growth of government or putting more programs in place and somehow putting in big additional programs like, like Obamacare, for example. I will repeal Obamacare. We need to make those fundamental changes in order to put this land back into the hands of the people. Is it we the people or is it we the government? I believe we the people must reassert our authority over our own lives, over our own local governments, over our state governments, and over our federal government. Yes, we need a solid defense. Yes, we need certain federal areas, but it should stay within its constitutional limits. I'm Kevin Lundberg. I'm running for Congress. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
The next person is Jared Polis, running for U.S. Congress in District 2 as the Democrat.
Woo! Well, I stand before you deeply humbled because I know that they kept the best for last, and on your program, I was last. However, I'm now informed there are 3 more speakers, so I stand before you deeply humbled. However, I would still submit to you and will make the compelling case to you today that for our particular race, I am the best and I am the last of the 4 terrific candidates that you've heard from today, each with their own ideas, some of which I agree with and some of which I disagree with about how we can move our country forward. I'm Jared Polis. And I'm running for United States Congress to make sure that every American family has access to the great opportunity that this country offers. Let me tell you a little bit about my background and why I'm running for Congress and what I hope to do for you if you give me the opportunity to serve you for 2 years. I have a background in business. I started several technology-related companies. You might have heard of some or used some, proflowers.com, bluemountain.com. I've created several hundred jobs, so I know how to balance a budget, grow a company, create jobs. I know what skills young people need to have good jobs in the 21st century workforce. After reaching some degree of success in the private sector, I spent my time and efforts trying to improve educational opportunities for kids in Colorado. I created a foundation that to this day operates and supports teachers in classrooms across the state. I also ran for and served 6 years on the Colorado State Board of Education, where we work to improve educational standards, make transparency and accountability work, ensure that parents have access to choice within public education. And during that time, I learned a lot about some of the unmet needs within public education, and I put my entrepreneurial side and my public sector side to work by starting several public charter schools to meet unmet educational needs. I started a charter school called New America School, and I served as superintendent of that school for 2 years that helps new immigrants to our country learn English, high school-age new immigrants. I also co-founded a charter school for homeless youth in Denver called the Academy of Urban Learning. I'm running for Congress because I believe that at the very time that a good education and community college or college degrees are more important than ever for Americans to have good jobs in the 21st century economy, it's becoming less and less affordable for many families to afford to open those doors to college, to be able to make sure that their kids get a good elementary through high school education and have affordable access to college. Even here today, I had conversations with several people of all ages, parents worried about how they could afford to pay for their kids' college, kids wondered about whether they can go to college now or have to put it off for an indefinite future. This is where our country will be competitive. We need to ask ourselves this election cycle, what does opportunity mean? How can we ensure that all families have access to the great opportunities that this country offers? How can we make sure that regardless of geography, regardless of income, regardless of race, regardless of gender, every kid has access to a good quality education that prepares them for college or the workforce. If elected, I will put my private sector skills and my experience in education to work for you to make sure that college is more affordable and to replace No Child Left Behind with a federal education policy that actually makes sense for our country and improves public schools. I also strongly believe that we can't leave a legacy of debt to the next generation. I support a balanced budget amendment to our Constitution, and I'm always trying to come up with ways that we can cut spending in programs that aren't working without undermining the important investments in our future, like education and like investments in science and technology that directly lead to job growth here in Larimer County and nationally. CSU receives over $250 million a year in federal research grants. Colorado is also the home of research labs like NREL and Golden. CU receives federal research grants. Much of these grants lead to, yes, of course, employment at those institutions, but more importantly, it leads to technology transfer and new ideas that lead to job creation in private companies here in Colorado. Through spin-offs and tech transfer, we have thousands of jobs, and we will have thousands more. And as we balance the budget, we need to make sure that we don't undercut the investment in our future as a country. That would be the most short-sighted action that we can take. I support a balanced approach. I support the Bowles-Simpson Bipartisan Commission that is a bipartisan approach to balancing the budget. I think we need more people in Washington who will put results above ideology. If you elect me, I will. Most of the bills I work on have bipartisan support and bipartisan sponsors. I will go to Washington and try to fix what's wrong with Washington, and you can find more about me at PolisForCongress.com, and I'm Jared Polis. I'd be honored to have your vote in the upcoming election. Thank you.
So our next speaker is speaking in support of the Loveland Rural Fire District mill levy increase, SF, and I think his group is Firefighters for Rural Fire Safety. Is that correct? That's correct. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dixie. My name is Randy Morawski, and I'm the fire chief at Loveland Fire Rescue Authority. I'm here tonight to probably talk about one of the least popular initiatives that you've heard about all night, but I thank you all for staying around this long. Is there anyone here that actually lives in the Loveland Rural Fire Protection District? Anybody? Okay, well, thank you for being here tonight, and I'll look at you more, but how many of you live in the Loveland area? Okay, you can't vote on this issue unless you're a rural district citizen, but the outcome of this will impact you. I'm here tonight because I'm gravely concerned about the services in the Rural Fire Protection District. The ballot initiative 5F is a tax increase. It's a very modest tax increase that will help us continue to provide services to the Rural Fire Protection District. Let me explain to you what's happened in the last few years within our Fire Protection District. For the last 3 years, we've researched the best governance model for the fire district and the City of Loveland. For more than 50 years, the City of Loveland and the Loveland Rural Fire Protection District has been in a contract relationship. It's worked well for many years, but over the last several years, we've seen a number of problems. For 3 years, we researched the best governance model and found that it was a fire authority. In January of this year, we established Loveland Fire Rescue Authority, a partnership between the City of Loveland and the Loveland Rural Fire Protection District. It ensures that both have sound representation on matters of fire protection. The amount of money we're talking about here is fairly small, but let me explain to you why we're here to talk to you. The budget right now is paid 82% by the city and 18% by the rural district. The Rural Fire Protection District cannot afford 18%. They can afford about 12%. Without this tax increase, services will be cut and reduced in the Rural Fire Protection District. Right now, they're meeting their 18% by living on their reserves. They will run out by the end of 2013. My concern for you all is that my firefighters and I desperately want to be able to provide services for you. That's our heart's desire. This has nothing to do with my paycheck or their paycheck or anything else. It has everything to do with the service levels. The City of Loveland has been really underwriting and paying for the services in the rural district for many, many years. The Rural Fire Protection District has not had a tax increase in over 22 years. Currently, the mill levy rate in the rural district is 5.808. The average in northern Colorado is 11.5. It's not even close. So we're hopeful, very hopeful, that citizens will support this, find out what the facts are. We have some information. I know that someone handed you a flyer out there, but if you live in the city, and if you drive up into the mountains, you drive on Highway 402, I-25, you go to Bonefish or Starbucks, you could be affected by this because all of those areas will have reduced level of services. It's not what we want, but the Fire Authority Board has no other choice at this point without this increase. The tax increase is modest. For a $250,000 home, it's $4.81 a month. That's what we're talking about. So I wish you would get the facts and please support ballot initiative 5F. I'll be here after this is all over with. If you'd like to speak to me one-on-one, I'd be more than happy to speak with you. Thank you very much.
All right, our final speaker for the evening is Steve Ludwig, who is running for CU Regent at Large as a Democrat.
Thank you. I'm Stephen Ludwig, University of Colorado Regent at Large, and everyone in Colorado can vote for the Regents race. As it was said earlier tonight, the first one of my opponents got up. He started the evening, and we're ending with the CU Regents race. It is the only statewide race in Colorado besides president. A little about me. I put myself through college working full-time and part-time, going to school full-time and part-time. I've worked at the University of Colorado for 3 years. I've owned my own small business, and I've worked for 2 Fortune 500 firms. And I'm proud to say I'm the only Regent candidate that's been endorsed by Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper. So right about now, you're probably asking yourself, so what? Why should I care about a Regents race? I don't live in Boulder. I don't go to CU. Why does this race impact me? Well, this race isn't about one college. It's not about one city. This race is about the future of our communities, the future of our state, and the future of our country. There are a number of major issues facing higher education in Colorado right now, but the most significant one is we'll have no public money for public colleges by 2023. Let that sink in. No public money for public colleges in 11 years. If we're going to compete with China and India globally, who are investing massively into higher education, if we want to bring new companies to Colorado, if we want to help our local companies create jobs right here, right now, we need a robust higher education system. It is a cornerstone of a robust economy. The Regents of the University of Colorado, and whom you elect for Regent, can directly impact how the state deals with these issues. I will take the experience and the relationships I've gained over the past 6 years to work on these issues, and I work across the aisle and I work across institutions to make sure that Colorado can find a solution. As someone who put himself through college, I've spent the last 6 years working to keep tuition affordable, expand access to higher education, and I've worked to increase efficiencies to keep costs down. Here's what I'll work on during the next 6 years. Expand online education by 25% so working adults have more access to higher education and to bring costs down. Work to have 3 true semesters. We shouldn't shut colleges mostly down in the summer. Develop competency-based classes so when you master material you move on, you don't have to sit in a chair for 3 months. Increase cooperation between Colorado's public colleges and universities to bring costs down. Increase cooperations with business and the amount of money we get from private donors and philanthropy, again, to help keep college costs under control. And most importantly, I will work with you and other key people and the voters to ask for a dedicated revenue stream for higher education. Look, during this campaign, I have traveled to all 64 counties. I did it in 10 days, 3,200 miles in-state in 10 days. To demonstrate the passion and commitment I have to public higher education and to serving you. But why I'm so passionate about higher education and why I know it's so important is because it changed my life forever. You see, I never thought I would graduate from college. And so when I did, and they called my name and I walked across the stage just like this, it was the happiest moment of my life. And I want to make that as available to as many people as possible because I know it can change their lives, it can change families, it impacts the state, it helps all of us. no matter where we live in Colorado, higher education is important to every Coloradan, which is why I'm in this race. Thank you for being here tonight. If you'd like to find out more, you can do that at voteregentludwig.com. Thank you so much. I'm Stephen Ludwig, CU Board of Regents.
All right, I want to remind you the election is Tuesday, November 6th. Larimer County has vote centers, and you can find out where those vote centers are for both the election on the 6th and early voting, which will be from October 22nd to November 2nd by going to the Larimer County website at larimer.org. Then under departments, see elections and then voting locations, so you can find those there. The county clerk will send the mail-out ballots on October 15th. I want to thank our timers that we had, the 2 different sets, our videographer from the city of Fort Collins, the organizers, and especially Francis Moore, who was the chief organizer, the one in charge of the whole thing. And I want to thank all of our donors, our sponsors, our 3 major sponsors, and all of our different donors. Thank you very much. We'll see you in 2 years.